Well, I hope everyone that is here today is having a fantastic week up to this point. For those of you that just arrived, I just want to point out that we did have some swag items at the front of the entrance there, and those were actually provided by our information technology department. So if you haven't done so, please sign in and go ahead and grab some of that stuff that is for you all. And we will be providing more swag items as the sessions go on. But I just want to give big thanks to our information technology department for doing that. And they actually will be here shortly to present on their department as well as various other departments as well tonight. All right, so it is 5:31, and we will go ahead and formally kick off at this point. We do have a pretty packed agenda for you all this afternoon, so we won't waste too much time. But before we get started, I just want to point out that I did send out 2 evaluation links for you all last week. If you guys don't mind, please go ahead and submit those evaluation surveys. Those are for our Session 1 speakers as well as our Session 2 speakers. And our city team and our city staff really appreciate the feedback on how we can further promote the City University program and to advance it in the future. So if you have any suggestions, please go ahead and include that in there. And those will be live up through the end of session number 9 at City University. So please go ahead and fill those out for us if you haven't already done so. All right, so to formally kick us off, we have a special presentation for you all this evening regarding our 1PSL program. And to provide more context, 1PSL is really best known as your 24/7 City Hall. This all-in-one system allows residents to connect with your city either via mobile app, telephone, or web portal. Residents can use 1PSL to request services, pay bills, ask questions, and even pinpoint issues using GPS location. So here to talk a little bit more about the 1PSL program, we have Jasmin Padova with us here tonight, and she's with our city manager's office. Welcome, Jasmin.
Thank you, Bolivar. Good evening, everybody. My name is Jasmin. I do work in the city manager's office, and this evening I'm going to be talking to you about a little piece of what the city manager's office does with regards to resident requests that come into City Hall. So as Bolivar mentioned, you can call 1PSL, you can download our 1PSL app, or you can utilize the web portal from our website. Just by a show of hands, has anybody used 1PSL before? Okay. All right, so, okay. So that's what we're going to be talking about this evening. So for any of you that are completely new to 1PSL, it's the way that we document requests that come into the city and how we respond to our residents. When you call 1PSL, you will be speaking to staff in one of 5 different participating departments. The call center is staffed 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, and we have participants from our building department, neighborhood services department, public works, parks and recreation, and the Office of Solid Waste. Our police department covers nights, weekends, and holidays. We have several call takers trained to work in the call center and a policy in place to ensure consistent coverage, which is managed at the department level. 1PSL enables us to have a virtual call center. So what that means is we do not have employees based in one area of the city answering calls. We actually utilize different employees throughout those departments, and their job is customer service for those departments. And on top of that, they also answer the main line for 1PSL. 1PSL is 24/7, 365. So you can submit a request on the app or through the web portal at any time. This does not guarantee that your question will get answered at the time that you submit the request, but it will be submitted to the appropriate member of staff, and you'll get a response in regular business hours. We do get very few calls in the evenings and on weekends at this time, but we are monitoring should we need to change our service levels in the future. So why did we transition to this 1PSL system? So let me talk a little bit about what our customer service used to look like. And prior to 2019, we had 1 employee at the City Hall front desk answering the City Hall main line. And that was not her only job. She also greeted everybody that came into City Hall, directed them where to go. Did calls go unanswered? Absolutely. Were we able to track that? Did we have data to quantify how many calls were going unanswered? We did not. So we really had no centralized gauge on our performance or even our workload. One PSL provides the data that we need to determine resources and highlights accountability for how we communicate with the public. We can show how long calls were on hold for, how long the customer was on the call with the call taker, as well as many other data points. Another goal was to support our new residents, people that don't know who they're supposed to connect with. It doesn't matter. You call one PSL and any of the call takers can add in a request for service or transfer you to the appropriate office. From an oversight perspective, managers and supervisors can track requests their department is responsible for and review the actions undertaken by staff to resolve the request. Another goal of one PSL was to remove the middleman. And what I mean by that is when you add a request in for a pothole, it goes to the streets crew. If you report litter, it goes to the litter crew. If you report a code issue, it takes the address and assigns it to the code specialist in that area. So we're trying to connect the resident to the appropriate member of staff first time and get that issue addressed as quick as possible. Sometimes there are questions that might need to go to a project manager. If it's a specific park project, it will go to an administrative team member in parks, and then they will assign it to the specific project manager. They're the subject matter expert, so we're connecting you to the subject matter expert with specific project questions. Notifications. This was really a huge benefit that we saw for transitioning to this system. When you sign up for the, through the app or through the web portal, or when you call in, the call takers can select for you, or when you're signing up, you select yourself how you want to communicate with the city. So you can either sign up for text notifications about your request or email notifications. But that's all they are, they're just notifications. So when a staff person adds in an update to your request, you will receive that notification either by text or email. You can't text back yet, you can't email back yet. If you want to respond to us, you have to go back into the app and add a comment, or back into the web portal, or you could call us and say, I just got this update if you have any questions. Something that was very new this year was we separated our call center. So when we first transitioned to our new solid waste provider, FCC, all of the calls were going into one PSL. And that was basically because of the volume of calls that we were getting at the time. We needed all hands on deck to answer those calls. But as service improved with FCC, we have since separated the call center. So when you call one PSL, you have an option. If you have a solid waste question, you get directed to the subject matter experts in solid waste. They can answer your questions. If you have a question about getting a shed permit, you go into the main one PSL queue, and then you get transferred to the appropriate person in the building department. And again, that's all to get you to the right people quicker, so that you're not on hold with all of those other people holding for a specific department. The other thing that we really liked about this software is the flexibility. So during emergency events, we can manipulate the call center and then basically merge those numbers back together so everybody can answer those calls, which is vital if it's a storm event. we essentially want to get people connected with a member of staff as quickly as possible, and we utilize this software to provide that, that connection during an emergency event. Okay, so this is where we get experimental. I want to try and play a game, and I'm going to need some help.
Awesome. Thanks, Chaz. And we are going to go ahead and perform a little bit of an interactive exercise here at this point. We are going to go ahead and pull up what's known as Kahoots. Has anybody in the room heard of Kahoot or ever used it? A couple times? All right, awesome. It's a good way to ask participants questions and also share live feedback on the computer. So it is a good way to, to get some responses from you all. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up Kahoot. And we have a couple of questions we want to share with, or ask you guys and share the results regarding 1PSL.
So if you do have your smartphone with you, you're going to search for Kahoot.
.it.
And put in that game code.
Yes, so at this point we do a request for all of you guys, if you guys can, to log
If you
on.
can. You can still play along if you don't want to do the app. It just means that if you win, you won't get your name on the screen with balloons.
I also want to point out that we are recording this session, so please no profanity for these names here. As a reminder, we are recording these sessions. Okay, I see 5 people in the lobby. We'll give you guys another 30, 40 seconds. We have about 40 people in the room, so please go ahead and sign in there if you don't mind. Okay. I see 10. What about the rest of you 30 guys? Where you guys at? Sure. Yes. You do have to have a phone, but we can certainly do regular hand raises too if you don't have a phone.
Still answer the questions.
Yeah.
Not out loud.
See a couple more people logging in here. Another 15 seconds. We'll go ahead and start the game. Okay, I think we're at 16. Are you guys ready for some Kahoot? All right, I'm going to go ahead and launch the first question here. Okay. And we'll go ahead and get started. All right.
Okay, so the question is, how many calls do you think we have logged in 1PSL since we launched in 2019? 80,000, 175,000, or 315,000? Again, since project launch 2019, September.
So you have about 30 seconds total to answer the questions. We're down to about 8 seconds here. All right, it looks like 16 of you all have answered, which is all of you. And the correct answer
Okay, not bad. It was number 2, 315,000. The exact number of calls we've logged is 317,047 calls since program launch.
Very good. And I see Jeanette got the right answer, and she answered the fastest. So Jeanette is in first place so far.
Okay, so this is how many requests have been added into 1PSL since we launched in 2019. 85,000, 50,000, or 125,000.
Oh, you guys were quick this time. Okay. So a lot of you guys did option number 125,000. Let's see if you're correct.
So the correct answer was 85,000, thank goodness. The exact number was 85,476.
Okay. Mary has jumped up to the lead here. Last question for you guys. This will, let's see who takes the cake here.
All right, and this is going to be, so the top request received so far this year, either speeding, recycling cart request, or reports of high grass.
Okay. Let's see what the results are.
It was recycling cart was the number one request received this year.
Okay, so the winner, first place, is Kat. Oh, Kathleen, congratulations on winning.
Okay.
Thank you all for playing Kahoot
Yes,
there.
thank you for playing along. So now that you have an idea of what, kind of numbers we're working with this new program, number 6, please. I just lost my train of thought. I was going to ad-lib something. See, that's what happens when I go off script. So now I remember. The calls, we add in about a third of service requests for the number of calls that we receive. And that's really related to the call takers answering questions over the phone, and, a call coming in that is answered. It doesn't require follow-up. So this graph is from my presentation last year, and I might have left this in more for me than for you. But if you can take yourselves back to this time last year, when I was presenting to City University, this was the graph that I had to share for the number of requests since 1PSL launch. Does anybody care to guess why the graph is going to space at the end? Yes. Yeah, so that was our fun challenge from last year when we transitioned service providers for solid waste services. But I really left this in for a kind of dramatic effect, if you will, because, so this is where we are now, much happier. The call takers are taking a lot less calls. And what I added, so the top line is the number of calls, and then the bottom line is the number of requests. So again, just because people call the city, it doesn't necessarily require staff to follow up. When staff has to follow up, we add it in as a service request into 1PSL. So you can see very nicely and very dramatically, the calls have decreased exponentially. And as far as trend lines, you can see how it is trending higher at the moment. But keep in mind, the call center for solid waste is now in-house. So last year, if you had concerns with your service, that was handled by our outside contractor. Now we're responsible. We take responsibility for all of the concerns. We want to have that data. That was really important to us to be able to manage the concerns of our residents with regards to this service. So it's essentially what we are expecting to be our new normal. And just to share some numbers, the week before FCC started, we logged 11,806 calls in a week, and our average was well below 2,000. So all of the call takers, myself included, are super happy with what it looks like now. So this is the number of requests by year, and I share this because this program really is in its infancy, and we haven't had a normal year since we've started. So 2019, we had a soft launch, so our numbers are kind of skewed low, if you will. 2020 was the pandemic, where you couldn't really come to City Hall, so that's why our numbers increased, because you had to do business, over the phone. 2021, same thing. 2022, I mean, I don't want to dwell on that, but that's why that is through the roof. And then here we are again, 9 months into 2023. We really don't have a baseline for what to expect out of this service, or what we can expect in future years. So at the moment, I'm just tracking year over year, and I mean, eventually we'll see some kind of trend line come out of it. And again, so our service has changed. We are taking solid waste in-house now. So we certainly expected our numbers to increase. What next year looks like, we'll certainly wait to see. So this just shows our requests by type for this year. So as you can see, recycling cart is our #1 request. And I want to highlight that it is request. It's not a complaint. Our residents want to recycle, so they're calling us and asking for a recycling cart. That's #1. And then the other two that were on my, the question was speeding. That's kind of further up, and high grass isn't even in the top 20. So the majority of requests are solid waste related, which is no surprise. It's a very visible service. We have, 3 to 4 interactions a week with our customers. So really no surprises there. But certainly interesting, for staff internally to be able to track and have this data. So from our Citizen Summit, if anybody has ever attended that event or completed our citizen survey, the #1 way people wanted to connect with the city was to call us. So that's why the 1PSL number was very important to us. The #2 was our website. Using the app was kind of far down, which surprised me a little bit, but I'm sure we'll see that change in future years. But for people that don't want to utilize a smartphone, maybe they don't want to have another app on their phone, it is accessible on our website. So I just wanted to share these 3 pictures here, right from the home page. Under services, 1PSL is the first tab, and then you scroll down to web portal, and then the next screen, you're going to add a citizen request. It is going to ask you to create an account. If you don't wish to create an account, you would just have to call us on the phone, and we would take your information for you. Okay, and what would customer service be without a survey? So when we started collecting all of this 1PSL data for staff, management was like, well, what do the customers think of this service? So we added a customer service survey to the end of our automated closeout messages. So if you are signed up in 1PSL to receive emails and we close your request, you will then get an email link to tell us how we did. And yes, I have picked only the nice messages to share with you this evening. But it's really, I really enjoy getting them and reading them. So I've shared one from utilities, one from public works, building, and solid waste. Because it's always nice when you get complimented for a city program and for staff doing a great job. But any negative surveys are not ignored. If they're general venting, that'll be logged as a negative survey. If it's why did you close my request? I don't understand why my request is closed. I will review the request, and yes, I do this on every single survey where there's a question, and then I will forward that to staff and say, can you clarify this for the resident? So and people will put in their survey, I bet nobody reads this. And then they get an email from me, hi, I read your survey, and then I try and close that loop, because I'm a customer, and I don't want to ask a question and be confused by the response or not understand the response, so I get it. So if there's a question, that's my job. I work to get it answered. Even if the answer isn't something that they want to hear, I'm not in a position to change ordinances or, mandate code enforcement, cite a neighbor for something that's not a violation. But I am more than happy to communicate that with the resident if there's additional questions. So, 3 takeaways from my presentation. I hope you use the app or give us a call or utilize the services on our website. The app can be used to complement an employee. So feel free to download the app and maybe add a note sharing that you really enjoyed City University, especially the presentation from the English one. But no, I do enjoy reading them. And then if you have neighbors and friends, if they share with you a negative aspect of government locally, you can tell them that there's an app for that. And then they can add in a request, and I'll certainly do my best to get their questions answered. I did leave my business cards at the back of the room, so grab that. But if you call 1PSL and ask for Jasmin in the city manager's office, you're going to get me. That's all I have, but I am certainly happy to answer any questions that you might have of me.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jasmin. She did a great job. Let's go ahead and take about 5 minutes for any questions for Jazz while she's still up here. Does anyone have any questions or even any success stories using 1PSL? Does anyone want to share a success story potentially of what how you used 1PSL? Awesome.
She's going to bring you the microphone
mic here.
so that our communications department doesn't get upset with us.
Well, I called because one of my clients had like a lot of trash that we were taking out of the garage. I'm a realtor. And I didn't know, it was my first listing, and I didn't know like how that was going to be done. And they helped me on the phone. Now, I put in a request, and they came pick it up for free. They didn't know if I was going to be charged or not, but
Okay,
turned out
So I
they
guess it
came
was-
pick up the trash. It was a lot.
wonderful.
So
Same thing happened at the house, too.
really appreciate that. Yeah, we had the same thing happen at our house
And I had an
too.
issue with,
Here.
and I had an issue with the water. So my water bill was like over $100. And then I figured out that it was one of the toilets that was,
Oh, leaking?
it kept going. It wouldn't
Yeah.
turn off. So I had to get a new thingamabob, put it in, right? So, I mean, it took me a month or so to figure that out. And they adjusted my bill, and yeah.
Yes, we have a leak adjustment
awesome.
policy.
Yeah, they refunded me a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I also had a situation where that grinder thing that
Yep,
they put in,
yep.
get rid of that. That's
No,
garbage.
no.
So we have, the 1PSL call center is separate from our utilities call center. And what was happening was people were putting in a 1PSL request for a sewer alarm, and we only address this regular business hours, whereas the utilities customer service has people on call all 24/7. And so what we implemented when we realized that there was sewer alarm calls going into 1PSL at 2 a.m. that weren't being addressed until 8 a.m. the next day, we actually put in a backup routing system. So now anybody that uses 1PSL for a utility sewer alarm issue, it goes to our police service specialists who are working. They then call utilities on call.
This year?
No, it was a while ago. It was a while ago because the manager in utilities would come in at 8 a.m. and have these requests that weren't addressed hours later.
Because the alarm goes off, and then, the lights go on, the alarm.
Yeah.
We've had that happen like 3 times. It's a brand-new house.
Yeah.
It's happened 3 times already.
So I'm sure there might be a way to do that, but at least if somebody, Yeah. But if it goes into one PSL, we now have a way to handle that more efficiently so that it's being addressed when it comes in.
Our neighbor actually called us too because we weren't home.
And the alarm was going off? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's the overwhelming majority of requests and questions that we get are positive. You're never going to get a customer service system that is 100% happy people. It's not going to happen, but we certainly strive to answer the difficult questions when they come in and address them as best we can. But if
Awesome.
that's-
Any other questions? One last one before Jasmine officially walks away? No? Okay, well, thank you, Jasmine, so much.
Yeah, and just as a last plug, and I definitely encourage you all to definitely use OnePSL moving forward. It's a great little tool for you all to submit, inquiries and requests. And, as a staff member myself, I actually also get OnePSL inquiries. So anytime I get one, we typically try to respond within 24 hours. So it's a great way to document your request, or if you're having an issue with something in your neighborhood, definitely use OnePSL because the staff member will see it and they'll respond typically within 1 day. Okay, so let me go ahead and pull up our next presentation. Okay, so moving right along, our next speaker here is with our city clerk's office. And to provide you all with a little bit more context on what the city clerk's office does, the mission of the city clerk's office is to serve the public by striving for excellence in the preparation of agendas and meeting minutes, and by providing complete and accurate information while preserving the records of the city, while also maintaining a professional level of service in all phases of operation. Here to talk a little bit more about the role of the city clerk's office, we have our very own Sally Walsh joining us this evening. And Sally is actually the city clerk for the city of Port St. Lucie. Welcome, Sally.
Thank you, Boulevard.
You're welcome.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. It's hard to follow the English accent and games, right? So I used to think it was bad following our communications department. So when I saw this schedule, I was like, oh, good. I don't have to follow their exciting videos and all this fancy drone footage and all this crazy stuff that they have. But I'm glad to be here either way. So thank you all for indulging me this evening. Boulevard was kind enough to read our mission statement for you. So I'm going to move right past that and introduce you to our city clerk's office staff. We currently have a staff of 8. We do have a vacant position right now as we lost a vital member of our team that has moved up and on. So we're happy for him, but it has left us with a vacancy that we will backfill, I'm certain, here very soon. But our department is consisting of our records coordinator, our agenda coordinator, we have an office manager, and then our deputy city clerks. Those are the individuals who you will see going to all of our city council meetings, our board and committee meetings, to record the meetings, and then they go back and they transcribe all of the minutes that you can find online, and along with the videos on the website. Has anyone attended a city council meeting or a board meeting in the room? Okay. Anybody here Monday night? It was a blast. If you weren't, you missed it. All right. So, oh, it was. It was a lot of fun. Okay, so these ladies, currently we have all ladies in the clerk's office, not on purpose, but that's just the way it happened. They attended in 2022 268 total board and committee meetings for the city. Those are part of our advisory committees, our council meetings, special council meetings, our negotiation meetings, all of those meetings, totaling thousands and thousands of hours that they sit recording those meetings and then go back and type those meetings. We had approximately 8,000 pages of minutes that they transcribed for the year. So that's a lot. That's it? Yeah, exactly. Our records coordinator, Ms. Sanchez, helped facilitate, since its inception in 2018, our public records portal that we manage. We have had over 500,000 public records requests come through that system. That is not including the requests that are just responded to immediately if someone comes in and it doesn't get placed through our system. 2018. That website that portal is available on the city's webpage. So anytime that you would be seeking documents from the city, you could place your request there, and that goes directly to either the department that you request, or if you are uncertain, it goes to the coordinator, and she then disperses it to the department that needs to respond. Has anyone placed a public records request through our portal? No? Okay.
Well, I requested the building drawings.
Okay, through our portal?
Yes,
Okay.
that's fine.
Okay, good. Good, glad to hear that. Our agenda coordinator, Ms. Heinz, she is in charge of processing our council agendas and all of our meeting agendas, actually. They also get done through a system electronically. The departments upload information. There is a approval sequence that it goes through that all of the managers and supervisors and what have you take a look, make sure everything's accurate, and then that all gets published to what some of you may have seen on our website. So if you visit the city's website, you can look at the calendar, select the meetings, you can select the meeting history, you can go there, you can see the agendas, you can see the action agendas, the minutes, it will even take you to the videos of any of the meetings that have been recorded. You can see all of that there. In addition, anyone who's interested in following along and getting notifications, we have an option called Send Agenda that is on the city's webpage. So anytime an agenda is posted to that portal, you will get an email notification to whatever email address you sign up with, and you can see what meeting is happening and what the business is on that meeting. Okay? Moving along to some of our statutory responsibilities. Some of them we have talked about: records, transcribing and preserving all the minutes of the city, preparing all the meeting notices and the backup documentation. Last year, we had 26,000 and change pages of backup material that were electronically shared through our portal with our city council for review before they voted, as well as to the public. So each item that goes on our agendas, any backup documentation that's provided for those items is uploaded so that you can see that for transparency. Okay? And you can save those, print those, whatever you'd like to do right from the website. The city clerk's office also serves as the official records custodian for the city of Port St. Lucie, which we are statutorily required to do. All of our records have a certain lifespan that is designated by the state. We must follow that. We also must comply with making those records accessible, with the exception of any records that are of exempt status, need to be redacted, that sort of thing. But those records are all available and they must be maintained. Hence, we respond to all the records requests. I am your qualifying officer for all municipal elections within the city. So all of the candidates who are interested in running for office will come and see me. They file all their proper paperwork with me, and then I work with the supervisor of elections and push everything through for actually appearing on the ballot. Let's see here. We have legal advertisement requirements per state statute for our ordinances and resolutions, annexations. A lot of our meetings that are happening right now are budget hearings, our special assessment notices, all of those types of things. We have the requirement to publish those. Currently, they are still published in the newspaper. The legislator did recently change to where we can publish them only on a county website. However, those details haven't been worked out. It's all very new, so it is still in the newspaper, as well as all of our legal notices are posted here inside City Hall as well as our website. Keeping up with our duties here, the city clerk's office also handles our centralized mail center. So all of the mail coming in and out of City Hall from all of our departments is processed here. In 2022, we processed over 72,000 outgoing pieces of mail through the clerk's office and an unlimited number of incoming. We don't count those, as you can imagine.
That's slow email, not email.
That is snail mail. Yes, sir. Yes, USPS. That's correct. The city clerk's office is also the holder of the city seal. So any of the documents, official documents that you see have been attested to and sealed by our office. All the plat documents and official recordings, that sort of thing, are all required to be sealed. A big one that we do, and maybe some of you have been part of that, is the creating of city street lighting districts. Has anyone in here requested street lights for your street? Okay. Sir? Yes. Residential street lighting? Yes. So the city has a program for residential street lighting. We are simply a liaison between the resident and FP&L. We have a process in our code where any owner of a property on any given street can come in and place a request for street lighting. What you need is a petition of 25% of the homeowners on that street to be in favor of wanting the lights, at which point we do a balloting process. So we send a ballot to all of the property owners identified as part of that boundary, and then everyone gets an opportunity to vote. If the majority of the votes received are in favor or against, that is the deciding vote. If the majority vote in favor, everyone gets assessed a $26 fee annually, and that covers the electricity for the year of running, the lights. And then we turn all of that over to FP&L each year, all of the approved boundaries, and FP&L then goes out and installs those poles and those lights. FP&L is still the owner of the poles and the lights and the maintainer. The city's done at that point. We simply connect the process, get it approved, and then we forward it on to FP&L. But if anyone is interested in that process, you can visit the city's webpage, and under the I want to section all the way to the right, and it will say request and street lighting. You can obtain some additional information there, as well as fill out the form, and that will go right to my office, and we will facilitate that for you.
Now, that's for new light. What about burned out light?
If you have existing street lighting and it is burnt out, on that website that I just told you about, on that I want two street lights, on that street lighting page, the very first thing is if there is a problem with the light, there is a contact telephone number for you. I'm sorry, I don't have it off the top of my head, but it is listed there for you that you can contact FP&L and they will send someone out to repair that light. Now, something I like to point out about the street lighting is that it's very different than the residential security lighting. So some of you may have the light on your pole that actually faces over your property, so that lights your yard, right, for security purposes. And you work directly with FP&L on that, and they send you the bill. I believe the average is about $13 a month now for those lights. The street lighting, actually, the arm of the light goes over the road, and it's intended to light the road. They are using all LED products now, so there's very little light pollution, that's the word I'm looking for, light pollution. So the old halogen style lighting, people complained that it would shine in windows and they weren't really happy with it. But since they've moved to the LEDs, it's very honed in on the street, very little pollution. So a lot of people are much happier with the LED versions now.
Do they use those in the backyards too, the LEDs?
They may for this personal security lighting. So if your electricity is in the back of your home, if you request residential street lighting, what they have to do is run the power to the front to light the street. So that's a situation where some residents.
Oh, no, I mean them lighting their backyard, putting the light in their backyard. So
If
the
the-
backyard is lit up.
If you have an FP&L pole that will support a light in your backyard,
Yep.
you can certainly call FP&L about that security light.
I'm just wondering if it's not LED, if they can replace it. My neighbor has one. What I've been doing is I've been asking them to paint the side of the light because my whole backyard's lit up every night and I don't want it that way. So they paint it with black paint for me right now, so it doesn't shine as brightly into my house.
They also, FP&L also has a shield, they call it, and it's actually a piece that will go in that will keep the light from going that way.
They didn't tell me that.
Yes.
Okay.
Good, see, I'm successful. Somebody learned something here tonight, right? This is good. This is good. All right, and then we do the processing of the ordinances and resolutions for our codification. So if you have any questions or a need to research any city codes, you can also view the Code of Ordinances on the city's webpage, and that is updated quarterly. Per the ordinances that are approved by our city council, they then get sent in, and all of that information is updated for you to utilize there. It also, if you would need the history, well, we get a lot of requests for maybe what the code was in 1999. The history is at the bottom there, so we can be contacted and we can provide you with the ordinance that was in place at that time, so you can see the difference. That's been requested for, maybe say fence heights changed in 1992, and you bought your property and the property has a 6-foot fence, and now code enforcement tells you you can only have a 4-foot fence. So are you grandfathered, or do you have to comply with the code? Those types of things. So we can go back and see when those things changed so that you can utilize that information. But all the history is there. We have things in the clerk's office that have been around since Christ left Pittsburgh. All right, so if it's there, if it exists, we can generally find it for you, okay? So we are a great resource to have in that manner. Let's see, some of our other functions. I think we've covered most of this. Our Granicus program, which we talked about, that is the program that houses our council agendas and all of our meeting agendas, actually. And that was where the send agenda I told you about, that is the program that will lead you to for the agenda. Here is a list of our boards and committees, those that are active and those that are currently inactive and on-call status. Currently, we have about 25 boards and committees that we are actively working with and covering on an annual basis. Some of these meet monthly, some of them are quarterly, some of them are weekly, some of them are just as needed. And that is all I have. So exciting, right? No games, no accent, no nothing. There's a little southern twang there if you picked up on it.
Great work, Sally. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Does anybody?
Any questions before I sneak away?
Oh, perfect. I see a hand raised. I'm going to come this way and give you the mic here.
Just a quick question about the lighting again. I have a commercial property that I have, and we have FPL lights, and those lights are out. Would it be the same number I'd call for commercial as well as residential?
You could certainly call that number and tell them where the property is located. They may have to transfer you. That I'm not certain because we just deal with the residential portion of it. But it would certainly get you into FP&L and they could direct you from there.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Well, enjoy the rest of your getting to know the departments. As an employee of 22 years here in the city of Port St. Lucie, you're going to learn some great things and meet some great people. So enjoy.
Awesome, thank you. Oh, wow, it's 6:21. We are right on schedule. This is great. I love it.
We're going to go ahead and take a 20-minute break at this point. I want to make sure you guys are fed for the next round of presentations. So let's go ahead and break for 20 minutes. We'll come back at 6:40. As far as the food goes, the way we're going to do it this time is if your last name begins with letters A through M, as in Mary, you guys can go first. And then the next group can go in a couple seconds here, all right? So I'll see you guys in about 20 minutes. All right, everyone, we are officially back live here. It's 6:45. We're going to go ahead and proceed. It looks like everyone is about done with their dinner here. So our next topic is our Human Resources Department. And our Human Resource Department, in addition to helping bring additional employees into our great city, they also oversee a number of different programs and activities that two of our staff members are here today that will talk a little bit more about what they do and some of their roles with the Human Resources Department. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Mr. David Wood and Kim Sala, who are here from HR. Welcome.
Is that what we do? Click?
Yes.
Click there? With the mouse. Good evening. So we're going to co-host the presentation. We encourage you to ask questions as we go along or afterwards, whatever you want to do as far as that goes. My name's David Wood. I'm the Assistant Director of HR. Yes, yes. So to tell you a little bit about human resources, we currently have 15 staff members and a director. And we do all kinds of functions, which we're going to go ahead and show you about today. In addition to the normal human resources staff that we have, our director also manages 2 staff members in council's office that are assistants to the council. We also have a separate division underneath HR, risk management, so you will hear from them after us as far as how that goes. Just to let you know that with the city, that brings the total direct reports to our director to 17, not including risk management. As far as our values go, one of our missions is to become, of course, the employer of choice, where people are proud to come to work every day and everyone is treated very fairly. As far as our vision, we strive to be the Google of government. That's what HR's vision is. Some of the values that we have within HR are inclusiveness, integrity, accountability, respect, leadership, trust, and communication. As far as some of the goals for our organization, we have 6 main goals that we like to achieve. One is called organizational development, and underneath that, we strive to make sure that all the staff enhances their skills, so that makes them more productive for the community and the city, but also then prepares them for their career within the city. So we do offer our various training programs to enhance that and make them prepared for that next level within the city. The second goal that we have is to transform the culture. So we fully integrate like the city's values with all of the team and the team members that we bring in, so that every department has staff that know a little bit about the values in that and learn about them through some of the programs that we have at the city. The third one we have is a talent management strategy. And we work with HR directly with the departments to help them determine what they actually need in their staff members. That means the staff members we're bringing on and the staff members that we actually have there. So with that, we do a lot with their recruitment. We help them with retention, retaining the current employees they got. We help them do job realignments. So maybe the title or something might need to be adjusted. Some of the duties and that of that particular job needs to be adjusted to benefit the city overall. And we do a lot of training and development within our organization as well. The next one is to create an agile organization, and that's to make sure that we're not only competitive in the marketplace, but we're also innovative, we're flexible, we're proactive, things like that, and we're responsible for the employees and the staff to know how to do things the right way. As far as enhanced benefits is number 5, and in there we strive to provide the best benefits that we can for our employees. So we are constantly looking and reevaluating the benefits and the benefit packages and programs that we offer in order to retain and attract the talent and also keep our workforce healthy. The last one is risk management. Like I said, you'll hear about that in the next part of the presentation, but as part of HR, but they basically, our group in HR fully supports the risk management team to make sure that we have a very safe environment and that for our staff. As far as the services go, this is a pretty big list. So we do a lot of things. It's definitely not all-inclusive by any means. I got actually 2 pages to show you, but kind of give you an idea. A lot of times staff aren't really sure and the public isn't really sure what all we do. They know we hire people and they know we give them benefits, but they really have no idea of how many facets HR really has and the different components from not only from the legal and compensation side, but the benefits and wellness side of keeping our employees trained and healthy and happy to be productive. One of the things I definitely want to highlight on is that we fully support the goal number 7 for the city, which is to maintain a high-performing government agency. And some of these particular things that we do help us support that. One of the things that we've done major in the last year or so is we totally revamped our orientation program, and now we call it the Keys to the City. So all new staff members, when they come on, one, they know about the city values, they know how they're expected to act, they know how they're expected to provide all those things from customer service all the way down to the ethical standpoint. And with doing that, that actually helps support retention. A lot of times people don't realize that we follow them all the way through all of the months of their appointment up to the 9-month period, and then ask them even at the 9-month part, how did things go? Are you getting the training that you need? Are you getting the support within the agency? And help them determine part of their career mapping goals to find out exactly where they want to go. We also found out through SHRM, which is a Society of Human Resources Management, that almost 70% of the employees will stay at least 3 years if they have a really good onboarding experience. So that's why we strive to make sure that we know from day one of them coming in, these are the expectations that we have for you to be able to behave, thrive, and grow within the city, in addition to what the department teaches you as well. And another slide here of a lot more items that we have. So it kind of gives you just a general idea that we do more than just hire, which is important for you. I'm glad that you're coming to these types of presentations so that you can see not only do we just have job postings on the front pages, and that you can look at and go through, but we do a lot of things behind the scene to support the community as well as our employees.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kim Sala, and I'm the Deputy Director with Human Resources. So I'm going to go into a little bit of the numbers and what metrics we really kind of focus on and the reasons that we do focus on them. So just to give you a little insight into the numbers that you're all seeing up on the screen, these are current numbers through mid-August for the current fiscal year. So these are not actual full year numbers. It's about 11 months, 10 and a half months. So to date, we currently have about a little over 1,300 employees, and they consist of full-time, part-time, seasonal, contract, as well as Our union employees, the city manages 6 different unions. So we have 3 sworn, which are our officers, sergeants, and lieutenants, and we have 3 civilian unions. They are typically our rank and file. And then we have supervisors and professionals. Within those units, we have approximately 1,100 or so, 1,200 or so employees who fall within those bargaining units. Little over 100 employees are non-bargaining. And typically, those are the employees that work to establish the collective bargaining agreements. So they're your typically, your leadership team, human resources, our city manager's office, and our city attorney's office. Those are typically all of your exempt employees and all your department directors. So we currently have approximately 1,100 of our employees covered on our health insurance. That goes up to about 2,000 if you include all of our retirees as well. At least 50% of our workforce does participate in our wellness program. And our wellness program we offer in order to reduce our overall expenditures on our health plan because we are self-funded. So in an effort to keep our expenditures for the health plan down, we offer a really great wellness program as well as an on-site employee health clinic to assist with any of the needs of the employees and ensure that we can keep costs down overall. Something I am very proud of, our turnover rate. So our overall turnover rate for the entire organization is 10.8%, which is really unheard of in today's market. Currently, the industry standard for the turnover rate is 47.2%. So we are well ahead of the curve there. And 70% of that 47.2 is voluntary turnovers, where people have left the organization of their own volition. So we really do a great balance. We have a great balance of, through our Keys to the City program and onboarding, staying in constant communication with the employees, we're able to retain them, to provide them with resources to learn and grow and succeed in their roles. And a lot of our employees do stay through retirement. In the last 11 months, we have hired approximately 260 people. We've created over 300 job postings or requisitions to fill, and we've received over 7,000 applications. So the city is definitely a place where people want to come to work. It's not that they don't fill the requirements, it's that we're limited on what we have budgeted for positions. So we really do run pretty lean for the size of our city, for having approximately 1,300 employees service over 230,000 residents is quite impressive.
I do have a quick question.
Sure.
So,
Give me 1 second. I'm going to go up there, give you the mic here. Catch it on record here.
thank you. So, when you're doing the training for employees in different positions, do you have specific modules that you want them to go through on a quarterly or semi-annual annual basis, and be competent in those particular modules throughout the course of their career, so that they can keep up to speed in regards to what's going on within the city, and specifically with what's going on within their particular department that they're in?
So we do.
And the reason why I ask you that is because I know with licensing, like insurance or real estate or anything else, you have continuing education courses that you have to complete on an annual basis. And
So we do have a couple of different training tracks and programs that we incorporate. We have a training catalog that we offer the ability for all of our employees to attend, and they can obtain various certifications through that training or certificates, essentially. And so some of the mandatory training requirements that we have on an annual basis consist of things like public records and what we're required to know as municipal employees, required by law, by statute, or by city policy. And then we also offer training tracks for individuals who are looking to progress and grow. We have a supervisor track, which will assist with anyone looking to move up through the organization, and we give them the skills that they would need to do so. So does that answer your question? Yes, it does. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you. So going on to the National Employee Survey, the National Employee Survey benchmarks the city's numbers from year to year with similarly sized organizations across the country. And as you can see, the city is higher than or similar to the national average in numerous categories. Many of our employees do say that they see a career path with the city as being either excellent or good. Overall job satisfaction is excellent. Our employees do rate the values that they have matching with the city's values as well. So it's really, we really push for the National Employee Survey for all of our employees to participate as well. So we actually have one of our employees in Human Resources who will go around to all of the city facilities, building sites, out in the field, and she brings a tablet with her and she talks to the employees and she has them complete the survey questions so that we can really benchmark to see where we stand. And then we do use those numbers to improve upon our programs and offer better programs, better training, and fill in the gaps of what the employees feel they're missing. So some of our strategic initiatives involve organizational development, where we are looking to grow the organization as a whole, as well as within the departments. Our talent management strategy, where we look to bring on talented individuals who will meet the needs of the city and fulfill the roles, stay, retain, and have a full career here, retire with the city. Again, David spoke about creating an agile organization and then transforming our culture. And that starts from the top down, and we have a great council, a great leadership team from the city manager through the department directors and all the way down. And that really does work to change the culture here in the organization. And it really does, for the size of the organization and the size of the city as a whole, it does feel like a family, which is really nice. It's a great place to work. So some of our priority projects include succession planning, which will ensure that we have qualified individuals to fill the next generation of leaders. And so we develop our employees to succeed and progress through the various positions so that as our leadership team ages out and retires, we have individuals who are experienced and trained and can fill those roles seamlessly. So some of our accomplishments for the current fiscal year include enhancing our employee experience with our recruitment and retention strategy. So as part of our benefits package, we want to entice individuals to come and work for the city. That includes enhancing our benefits to make us an employer of choice, because it's not just about money. We want the culture to be welcoming, and we want individuals and employees to know that there's a place for you here, and we take care of you. We recognize that you have needs, and we meet those needs. So part of that includes enhancing our offerings at our employee health clinic. We've actually just brought on a new EAP provider to provide additional mental health services to our employees. Through COVID, we saw an uptick in mental health needs of about 600%. And so that's really been a focus for us. The new EAP provider does actually give us services of over 300 mental health providers within St. Lucie County that our employees are able to utilize. So it's an excellent benefit. We also offer a geriatric case management line, and we have a first responder dedicated line with our EAP provider. And that is solely for our first responders, and it gives them the ability to have those conversations with representatives of the medical community who can assist them with things like PTSD or mental health issues. We also offer a wellness plan where our employees can participate and receive up to $500 back towards their health and mental health and wellness goals. We engaged additional participation this year from our employees by revamping our health fair, and we made it kind of a two-part summit where we gave information about open enrollment, our medical, dental, and vision benefits, as well as offering an educational component on how best our employees can utilize our health plan, how we can make it work for them.
Is the staff HIPAA certified?
Mm-hmm. Yes, we are all HIPAA certified. And then we also have a tuition assistance program. We manage approximately 44 tuition assistance reimbursement requests. We offer up to $2,500 per year in tuition assistance for an employee so they can pursue their education and complete their degree. And we also include an IDP, an individual development plan with that. So an employee looking to finish their degree or pursue their degree speaks with their director, speaks with human resources, and we develop a plan on how they would like to see their succession go within the organization. And so that's another way that we help with the succession planning. And then we were awarded the Best Places to Work for 2022 from St. Lucie County Human Resource Association for providing a first-class work environment for our employees. We have applied for the award again this year, and if we are selected as a finalist or as a recipient, this will be the 16th time that we've earned the award. So that is extremely prestigious and something we are very proud of. Most recently, we have earned the 2023 Professional Society for Human Resources, the Agency Award for Excellence for Small Agencies, which are up to just under 2,000 employees. And so that's going to be presented next month. So that's exciting as well. And then for our priority projects, we do always look to decrease our overall expenditures of our health plan by increasing the services we offer. And so we are looking to expand our health clinic, both the physical footprint as well as the services that we offer to the employees, by bringing on a mental health provider in-house, as well as exploring other options, listening to the feedback from the employees to see what services they would like to have at that clinic. So we're exploring maybe chiropractic services, massage services, some mental health services, and then bringing on additional equipment so that the clinic is able to perform routine services such as we have x-ray capability, but CAT scans, MRIs, and things like that. So we don't necessarily have to go out for those. Okay, so I did read a little bit, or I did speak a little bit about the priorities projects and explain our employee experience, what we're looking to have our employees gain and take away from speaking with HR, as well as by participating in our benefits and wellness program. So as part of our additional services that we're offering, we have received a lot of feedback from the various employees about enhanced benefits, so enhancing our dental package, enhancing our vision package. They're typically happy with the medical plan. It's a very robust plan. But part of what we've offered through open enrollment this year is a dental buy-up plan, which gives the employees the ability to enhance their benefits at an additional cost to the employee, but no additional cost to the city. So if the employee would like to add those additional benefits, they absolutely can, but with the understanding that they will be the ones to fully fund that for themselves. But we were able to negotiate with our provider so that that increase was not detrimental. I believe it was about
Between $12 to $50 some dollars a month.
A month.
For the employee,
yeah,
depending on the
$12 to $50 a month, depending upon the plan that they select. So if the employee is covering only themselves, it was $12. If they're covering their entire family, it could be up to $50 additional. But you get almost double the benefits. And we're looking to do the same with our vision plan, We're currently in talks and negotiation with our vision provider, and we're hoping to push that out to the employees as an option for December 1st. So a lot of good things are happening, and we're constantly looking to improve and enhance the offerings that we can provide to the employees to ensure that we do stay an employer of choice and that we have happy employees. So were there any questions?
Awesome work, guys. Great work. I see a couple hand raises here for you all, so give me one moment. I'll go back to this side of the room here.
We can.
We can.
Okay, so I'm going to go with this gentleman up here first. There you go.
Do any of your employees work from home or they're forced to come to the office?
That's a great
So
question.
some positions are forced to come into work.
Depends on the requirements of the position.
Right, so it depends on the requirements of the position. So for example, our field employees, they don't have the option to work from home because they're out in the field performing maintenance or landscaping duties. Typically, we are all on site and have returned all on site. However, it is up to the department director's discretion as to whether they want to permit anyone to work remotely. We do have a couple of full-time remote employees, and we do have a couple of full-time remote employees that work out of state as well.
That's great flexibility. Great
One of which actually works out of the country, so that's good.
Yeah, so it is possible. It's the 2023. I love it. I have a question over here from Manuel. I'll go ahead and pass you the mic here.
Well, first, I'm very happy to know that there is an organization here in Port St. Lucie that really knows what human resources is. I have been living here 8 years already, and I have relation with some companies, consulting or working, whatever. And some of them sell a lot of money. I'm talking about millions and millions. Human resources, no idea what is that. No idea. They have one person who hires, and that's it. Basically, that's it. So I'm very happy to know that the city knows what we are doing. And one question is, do you have way too many people doing applications? 7,000 or something is what he had here. Do you have a way to communicate back in case you don't choose or that person is not moving forward? Because that's 7,000, that's a lot.
Yes, so we use an online platform, a software program called NeoGov, where all of our applications are funneled through that one software program. And so we're able to set up templates and automatic replies. We can actually text responses with our applicants and keep them in the loop as to where their application is throughout the process. So a lot of times we will have positions open for 1 week, 2 weeks, or potentially even until filled. And so if they sign up for the texting option, we will alert them as they progress through the steps of the recruitment process. So when their application is moved over or referred to the department, if the department is scheduling interviews, and then once a selection has been made and that individual has passed our background, we will send out notices to all of the applicants to let them know that they were not selected, thanking them for their application, and then pointing them back to our website for any open positions that they feel they may be qualified for to reapply.
Thank you so much. I did see a hand raised right over here, so I'll go ahead and pass you the mic as well.
Hello, I have 2 questions. The first one, for your retirement, do you have a 401 or the Florida retirement system?
We have a 401A for our employees. We do have mandatory contributions for each of our employees, with the exception of the police department. They are in a municipal police officer retirement trust fund. So that is a defined benefit plan. And so their contribution amounts are slightly different. Whereas, so our general rank and file employees who are part of our FOP bargaining unit, they have a contribution amount of 1%, and the city contributes 11% to their retirement. For our OPEIU professionals and supervisors, they contribute 2%, the city contributes 11.7%, And for our non-bargaining, they contribute 3%, the employee contributes 12%.
Oh, interesting. Earlier you spoke about onboarding, and you mentioned 9 months. Is there a significance to the 9 months versus 6 months or 12 months?
No, it's traditionally been a 9-month versus a 6-month. I know some municipalities have a 6-month. We have a 9-month evaluation period to make sure that they get the training, development, and get plenty of time to be evaluated and determine if they are a good fit, and also get plenty of time for them to learn what it is that they need to do in their daily job. I did want to add one thing to the gentleman who asked, asked about FRS. We do have a couple of FRS employees, and that's council. And that's because it's under the state. Their state. That's the only FRS ones that we would have. Everyone else is under the 401.
Okay, and just one last question. How often do you analyze your jobs, and what cities do you use to base it on?
Okay, so that is an excellent question, also a loaded question.
Yeah.
So we have a pay plan where each of our positions fall within designated pay grades on the pay plan, and it sets a range of salary for the position. We evaluate, currently we have undertaken an evaluation, a comprehensive review of the entire pay plan from top to bottom. So we currently have 32 pay grades within the pay plan, and we are going through the process of evaluating each of those positions, doing a market analysis to determine if it has within market range for the position, and if not, we are moving it. Now, with that said, we also do a cross-section every few months and upon departmental request. So oftentimes, the departments will request that we reevaluate a position because it's been 6 months to a year since we've done it last, and we'll do salary studies and market analysis to determine whether it still falls within market range or if we need to move it. With respect to our job descriptions, we evaluate our job descriptions every year. So annually, we undertake a review of all of our job descriptions, and we update them to ensure that we're meeting market standards, we're capturing all of the essential requirements for the position, we're capturing any required certifications, and we remain compliant legally.
And the market analysis are done for the state, throughout the state, or throughout the country?
So it depends. So the positions really determine what we look at. We always look to our comparable jurisdictions. The top 10 largest cities within the state of Florida is really what we use to benchmark. And then we also look at and include a cross-section from our comparable jurisdictions, our closest jurisdictions. So we look at Martin County, St. Lucie County as a whole, Indian River County, and where the positions fall within those markets as well, because we also want to make sure we're competitive within the local market, because we don't want to lose valued employees to those jurisdictions. And then depending on the position, we may need to look nationally, because it may be a niche position. Yes. And it's not just public sector we look at. Sometimes we do need to look at private sector as well.
All good questions. We have time for just one more question. Does anyone have any final questions that they would like to ask Human Resources while they are still here with us? No? Yes? Right.
Sorry?
Do you use Workday? I see that commercial on TV.
No, we do not. We don't. We use other systems, but we don't use Workday, no.
Okay.
Awesome work. Well, thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you for the information.
Very much.
All right, so just to build off of Human Resources, we have our very own risk manager, Mr. Jeff Powers, is here with us today, and he's going to talk a little bit about his role with our risk management division here as well. So welcome, Jeff.
Thank you.
You're
Glad to
welcome.
be here. How do we get to mine? Yeah.
I'll hold it for you on this one.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. To adjust this slightly. I'm Jeff Power. I'm the risk manager here for the city of Port St. Lucie. And we'll get our slide going. Okay, excellent. Yes. It's been very good to me over the years. So I've been with the city 19 years. I started actually in code enforcement back in 2003. Prior to coming to the city, I worked 22 years with an insurance organization called ISO. We're an insurance rating organization. I was primarily involved in property inspections for the insurance company. So when the hurricanes hit, Francis and Jean, for those who might have been here when that hit, the city sort of went into not a code enforcement mode, but an insurance damage mode. And the supervisor, or the assistant city manager, recalled that I had some insurance background, and so I was able to help out in risk management and stayed, and I've been there ever since. So our director is a woman by the name of Renee Major, and she's been with the city 33 years, and probably 20 years in risk management. We have an interim director of risk management, and that is Ella Gilbert, and she is coming down from the legal department as Renee is retiring in May. And we have a risk management analyst, and that's Dee Tyler, and she's been 2 years now with the city. She used to be an office manager for State Farm. So that's a little bit about who we are. We're right now a team of 4, and for the past 20 years, we've been a team of 3. And so when you think how much the city has changed in 20 years and the growth that we've sustained, we are very lean division of HR, but we don't do it alone. And that's sort of what I want to stress. Tell you a little bit what risk management is, for at least here in the city, because every organization, the risk management department might be something that's slightly different. Some organizations, they're housed in legal. Some of them are housed in finance. Some of them are housed in procurement, but ours is part of the HR department. So risk, what is risk? Well, risk is everything that surrounds us, obviously. We live in a pretty risky society, and everyone is really their own risk manager, depending on the car you drive. You probably choose that car based on a lot of criteria. Some of it might be safety, some of it, might not be. And most everybody, I'm assuming, has a house or an apartment or something that they may carry insurance. So you make decisions based on what you have and what you own, and the risk management department does the same thing. And I'll cover some of, our insured values that we have. Presently, we're a population, I saw today, of 239,693 people. So we serve the population as well, because part of our goals, along with HR, is to provide the safe environment as best we can for the city to reduce the risk to the residents. And we're, Kim had said somewhere around 1,300 employees as well. I did an active search on Munis and came up a little less than 1,400. And again, that would be contract employees, part-time, full-time, et cetera. But generally, usually, risk management is, think of it sort of like the insurance company or insurance agency for the city. That's probably the easiest way to describe what we are and who we are. Communication, again, is key for risk management. With the small group that we have, they talked about the orientation process. We're a mix of that as well, because the employees, if it's a workers' comp insurance, they need to know what to do if they get injured on the job. If they get in an auto accident, they need to know what to do if you're involved in an auto accident. First thing we do is tell them, please, please, whatever you say, don't say, I'm sorry, it's all my fault. It could be all your fault, but we just ask that they don't say that, because if you've ever been in an auto accident, you've got a lot of emotions and people hear different things, and no matter what you say, you're never going to get it right. So we just ask them to be the good citizens that they are, call 911 and move on from there. And so in our larger departments, our Parks and Rec, our Public Works, our utilities, police, they're a whole society unto themselves with their training and their risk that they encounter. And facilities, these are our sort of larger departments that they have their own safety person, I guess, for the lack of a better term. They're sort of our go-to people if something happens in those departments. They actually work for the departments, but they're the people that we rely on because, again, 3 people, 4 people for a city of 1,300 employees, we would be way too spent to do anything else except to answer emails. And later on, you'll hear from our IT department, and the IT risk is an animal unto itself, and Stan is going to cover some of that information as well. But that's just a point to show you that we don't do it alone. We need the help of all of our employees to make the city a safe city. But getting back to the insurance, so we're self-insured as a risk-sharing pool. A risk-sharing pool, it's as you can see, a separate and distinct legal entity. We've joined with the City of Stewart, Martin County, St. Lucie County, and the City of Port St. Lucie. The 4 entities formed together and are called TRICO, a self-insured pool. And so we combine all of our coverages and everything, well, not all, but the majority of the coverages. Port St. Lucie has some that are separate from the other ones. But that way we have greater buying power so we can buy insurance to cover everything better. So the common policies are there are general liability policy, auto liability policy, property flood, excess workers' comp, boiler and machinery, crime, public officials liability, and AD&D. The risk management department administers all the claims within the SIR, which is the shared and it's late in the day. Sorry, it's the retention level that basically within the retention level of TRICO. Our total insured values that we have for the city are approximately $357,908,505. We have 148 sites and 401 structures that are covered by insurance. So when you think of your house with your one house, your one, if you have a shed, you may have insurance. Typically, you have insurance that covers the shed as well. We've got 401 houses, and besides that, now we've got fuel storage tanks that are exclusive to Port St. Lucie. We have pollution liability insurance, aviation insurance for our drones that the different departments have, civic center, community center events policy, and fitness policy. And that's going way too fast. Fitness center policy. Those are unique to Port St. Lucie and not necessarily to TRICO, so we have separate policies that carry that. And we face the same problems that homeowners face with the rising cost of insurance and trying to get something affordable as well. The market is not favorable, obviously, so we're spending more and getting less coverage. But TRICO, and I probably gleaned over that. I did. TRICO provides, our TPA is called a third-party administrator. They're the ones that administer all the claims for us. The city has no licensed adjusters that work for the city. We use the adjusters that TRICO provides as part of their administrative services for us. So this thing is really going fast. Okay. So again, like I said, some of the same problems that everyone has, we have in getting insurance. And insurance is sort of one of those things that no one really ever talks about until you need it, until there's a crisis, and then they want to make sure you have it. So we're always, making sure that we're doing whatever we can to try to cover the city. Because again, being financially responsible is one of our goals. Workers' comp, that's one of the programs that the city handles for employees that get injured. And that's where I've spent most of my career in risk management in the work comp arena. And that goes from the incident report. If somebody gets injured or hurt, we'd say, okay, well, you need to fill out an incident report within 3 days. Whether you want to seek medical attention or not, we need you to. And if anybody's watched any TV, work comp is a whole industry in itself. You see the attorneys, any attorneys in here? Before I start bashing attorneys. No, I'm not going to bash any attorneys, but you do see their commercials quite frequently. If you get hurt on the job, call us. We're going to get you all sorts of money. It doesn't work like that. It's statute driven, and we make sure we follow the statute. I'm not going to do anything to risk my career that would be not statutorily correct. And we want the best for our employees. From the top down, from the city council all the way to the lowest employee, we stress safety. We want the employees to go home from work in the same condition that they came to work in. And when we stress that, and you'll see in a second about some of the programs that we have for that. But work comp, what we do for work comp is we track the injury from the start to the finish. From the incident report to where it's called maximum or medical maximum improvement, where the doctor or physician treating them says, okay, you're as good as you're going to get. Hopefully they're back to work. That's our goal. We've got an aggressive return to work program, and we coordinate with the adjusters. Our role in risk is pretty administratively heavy. A lot of paperwork involved or computer work involved at this point. And we track the lost time that they have, if they've taken out of work, how many days that they're out, how many days they might be on restricted duty. There's a OSHA log, OSHA 300, that tracks that as well. We're not governed by OSHA, but we do recognize for training purposes and things like that they're the best practice. So we follow their standards as best we can, but we're not governed by them. But I do maintain what I call a modified OSHA log, just to track for the departments how many injuries did they have, how much lost time did they have, how much restricted duty time was spent. And then there is workers' comp litigation management as well. But again, all of our adjusters work for a company called Relation Insurance Services. That's our TPA. They're the licensed adjusters that handle that for us. Claims administration, again, like a good insurance company would. Accidents happen and you call your insurance company and they call us. We have property damage that happens to our property, somebody damages it, or on the occasion we damage someone else's property. All that flows through our department. We've processed this fiscal year 250 property claims. Auto claims, I think somewhere in my package I've got how many automobiles we actually have insured. But it's a lot. We drive a lot of miles. I don't have those numbers with me, but you think of the police officers that are in a vehicle 24/7. We've got dump trucks and heavy equipment out on the road. We've just got our building department. They're zooming around everywhere. So there's a lot of potential for injury and accidents, and every department does a very good job in training and safety and making sure that the drivers are watching out what they're doing. So 180 may seem a lot. Some of those are what we call mailbox fatalities, where they're driving along and they, look away, or someone's approaching and with the mirrors they hit a mailbox. We cover all of that. So those are auto claims. General liability claims processed, 112. So far this fiscal year, that can be anywhere from a building inspector falling through someone's ceiling. That's happened before. Grinder system backups, that's happened, where the equipment has failed. That's part of the automobile accidents as well. I heard you mention grinder systems earlier, so I figured I'd throw that one out to you. The general liability, auto accidents, things like that. So we've had 112 that we've processed through that. The types of claims are the tort claims, civil rights violation, public officials, all of those, again, are handled typically through insurance. But litigation management, we assist with the case investigation. If someone slips, trips, or falls on a sidewalk, we're involved in it because they're going to file a claim against the city. So I may go out to the property, see what they tripped on, see if it's an issue for us or if it's not an issue for us. There's a whole list of examples I could give, but we would be here all night and y'all would hate me forever, so I don't want to do that to you. But there are mediations and depots, everything that's involved in the litigation process. Typically it's Renee, our director, that's involved in those at a higher level, but we assist with interrogatories and requests to produce. Jasmin mentioned when she was up about the PSL 1, or the 1 PSL. And so a lot of times we'll get requests on those if someone has damaged their vehicle. Maybe they hit a pothole and they want the city to pay for it. So for liability purposes, we don't have what's called med pay. So if you're on our property and something happens and you get hurt, there's no automatic payment that the city has to be able to pay for that. And the same with like potholes and things like that. There has to be some sort of negligence on the part of the city. Correct. Thank you. So subrogation, one of the things we do, again, to try to be a financially responsible department and finance for the city is subrogation. So there are things that we don't insure. We don't insure landscaping, street signs, the traffic stanchions, the lights, because the cost of those is so prohibitive that the department said, you know what, we'll not insure those because typically those are hit by vehicles that hopefully someone has insurance for. But for those that either have damaged city property or there's no coverage that we would give to our insurance, we subrogate. And this year, it's so small to read. This year we've had $389,888.72 worth of damage to city property, and we've been able to recover $203,932 of that, and that's approximately 52% to date. It takes sometimes several years to get the money back, and generally we have 10 years worth of figures that we track, and we get back generally 97% of all the damages that occur when we can. Some of it, they're victims advocate we go through. Some of it, our city attorney has to get involved in. But some of it we have to eat, to be honest with you. If someone has $10,000 worth of coverage and they damage $12,000 worth of property, then there's a $2,000 gap that we can't take the $10,000 from them without saying, okay, we're going to forego the $2,000. So there are those occasions as well. But it's one of our goals that we try to hit to maintain 97% of getting back the monies. And we subrogate for all city departments, by the way. So if there's somebody that fiber cut, for instance, if somebody, contractor is out there and they hit a fiber line and those are not cheap either, we'll go after them or after their insurance company to say, hey, your guys hit it, we want our $20,000, $30,000 to get that up and running again. Safety and loss control. One of the slides I kind of ran through because I know we're short a little bit on time, is what we have for the department for safety. Safety involves, it's sort of our internal slogan, support from management, awareness, focus, education, teamwork, and the employee's commitment to have a safe environment as well. So that's the best way we can keep claims down as well, is if we don't have, any injuries or accidents, we won't have workers' comp claims, or as many. So that's an internal program that we have, and these are some of the safety trainings. Someone mentioned trainings earlier that we offer for back safety, ergonomics, bloodborne pathogens, confined space, and the list goes on, defensive driving, electrical safety, fall protection, forklifts, and on and on. We do those typically yearly, and those are mainly, you'll see most of them are mainly for a lot of it's for the field. The office people get sort of defined what they do to have trainings, and those trainings we're putting through on the PSL Forward or Knowledge City, which is a training platform that the city has. Occupational health falls under risk management, so those would be the biannual DOT physicals, spirometry and fit testing if they have to be required to wear an N95 mask or anything higher than an N95. We do annual fit testing, annual audiometric testing. Hepatitis B vaccinations are offered to our at-risk employees that work in an area that they may be exposed to hepatitis B, typically our sewage utility workers, police officers, parks and rec, janitorial that might get stuck by needles or things like that. We also conduct we don't personally conduct the random tests, the DOT testing, but we coordinate the testing, and that's done by our clinic. And through the employee clinic, which for the city is a great savings on the work comp, because if an employee is injured, our first stop is to send them to the clinic. What that does for us, it's an in-house. So if it stays in-house and there's no dollars that go out to be spent on that, it's not counted as a claim against us. So when we have to go to renew for workers' comp, our claim count is down. The cost is down because it's built into their contract, so there's no cost involved. And so that's a huge savings for the city.
Do most cities do that?
I'm sorry?
Do most cities do that?
The question was, do most cities do that? A lot of them now have moved to it. I know St. Lucie County has it, Martin County has it. So I don't know about other places, but I think that's a trend. But that would probably be a better HR question to have answered. So again, those are the numbers. Everyone likes numbers. 1677 exam visits over the course of the year. Some of the other things risk management does: park safety surveys, ergonomic workstation assessments, safety articles for the city newsletter. Every 2 months, we do a safety review board where all the departments gather together and we look over all the incident reports to see if we're noticing any trends, any issues related to, driving or lifting or, whatever the issues might be for the incidents. And we also do field work, observation, and surveys. And our TPA again assists in these. They do the ergonomic workstation assessments, and they help out with some of the field observations and surveys. They typically once a year we'll go through a park and add an extra set of eyes to see if they see anything, because our parks department, their employees also inspect everything daily, and they have check-off sheets and things like that we do, keep everything safe as we can. Again, the other responsibilities are contract review, emergency management team for the CEOC, and Americans with Disabilities Act. We're not in charge of it, but we assist with any questions that they might have. And again, that is presently our staff with Renee, and then Ella, myself, and Dee. So. Insurance isn't always an exciting thing, safety isn't always exciting, but please know that we do everything that we can to make sure that our employees are safe and are taken care of, and that's that's a mandate really from the top down. So, any questions? Oh, you know what? I didn't cover any numbers. Anybody want any numbers? Okay. Sorry, I almost got out of here.
Okay, go ahead.
So, insurance. Where did I have it? So we have, I was going to tell you our vehicles, how many we have. Where's it at? We have 336 either police cruisers or private passenger vehicles. Other 51 other, we have 481 trucks or light, medium, or heavy SUVs, 28 vans, 25 tractors, 8 motorcycles, and 21 mobile equipments, which is not licensed for the road. Trailers, we have 225 trailers for a total of 1,175 vehicles with a whopping total insured value of $13,152,036.61. Do I? No snowmobiles. Not yet. Not yet. We'll wait till the flip side of the global warming. Again, building, 183 million. Contents, 92 million. Electronic data processing hardware, 7 million and some change. The software, 4 million. Property in the open, that's anything that's not contained within the building. So if you go to a park site, it might be the equipment on the park, your bleachers, your benches, your sports lighting, just everything you see on the roadway, the workout equipment, fitness equipment. And those are inspected periodically, by the way, as well. All of that's called property in the open, or PITO is the insurance term. And that is 36 million. So when you think of your house and the value of your house, imagine what we have to handle with everything that we've got. But thank you. Any questions or anything?
Let's go ahead and take 2 questions for Jeff. I see one gentleman up here has a question, so I'll go ahead and give it to you first.
In your experience, what's been the largest liability that the city faces?
The largest liability.
Is it law enforcement?
Well, everything is. I don't have the numbers to see what has been paid out, but probably the biggest single department is that we have more exposure with is the police department, just because if there's an arrest that someone feels is unjustified, they're going to sue. They're going to sue for false arrest, or they have their fair share of auto accidents. Not all of them are their fault. Maybe they're running code and they get into an accident, and that's a high-speed collision, and that can be expensive. But typically, they get injured more. They have the highest work comp numbers. So I don't have the data to support it, but just from my experience, the police department take up a lot of my time. No police officers in here either, are there? Good.
The last question is right here.
You said that you don't need to follow OSHA.
Correct.
And nor maybe an FBA either. But is there any law or whatever that regulates you have to create a safety program, or is something that you decide to do or not to do?
So that is a good question. Years ago, the state did away with the requirement to have a safety program, and that's what it used to be. But yes, we do have a safety program. We have a safety manual that's available on the website. There are benefits for insurance costs if you do have a program in place that you follow. So we do have one. I did mention that, but Yes, but we're not governed to do that at this point. I know there's some talk about potentially changing that, but at this point, there's not. But
All right, so we are all set. Thank you so much, Jeff.
you're welcome.
I just want to point out, Jeff and I have actually worked together on, filing claims. Like we actually, my department, Neighborhood Services Department, we actually oversee the neighborhood entry signs that I'm sure you all have seen throughout the city. So I've worked with Jeff previously to make sure those signs are insured, and we've actually recently had an incident with one of the signs, and had to get Jeff involved with making sure that we did file a claim for that sign that was damaged by a vehicle. So. Great work that Jeff does. It is not easy for sure, I will say.
Keeps us busy.
Yes.
Us moving. Thank you.
That does certainly keep us busy.
All right, everyone. So moving on to our final speaker for the night, we have Mr. Stanley Fidge with us here tonight. Stanley is the Information Security Officer for the City of Port St. Lucie. He's with our Information Technology Department, IT. And Stanley was actually the one that provided all the goodies, swag items in the back of the room. So last chance to grab some there, but we'll go ahead and take those up later tonight. So without further ado, Stanley, I will go ahead and let you close us out for tonight.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Yes, please help yourself.
Just get your presentation up here. There you go. Perfect, there's the mouse.
So, thank you very much. So by the agenda and my time, it looks like I have to jump right to questions and answers. Anybody want to know anything about IT? Well, good evening. I'm Stanley Fidge, Information Security Officer with the City of Port St. Lucie. Been with the city just over 7 years now. I've worked in prior jurisdictions as well as in the private sector for Fortune 500 company. I've also worked in academia as an adjunct professor teaching, helping teach the next generation of cybersecurity professionals. And as well as own my own business as a consultant in the past. So I tend to bring a lot of experiences from different sectors in the economy, which helps in the government sector in space, because of course government deals with everybody from residents to businesses to, as you've heard tonight, people around the country and at times in different parts of the world that we have to comply, as you've probably heard from a lot of other city departments. We have a lot of regulations, a lot of policies and procedures to follow for all of the different functions across all 17 departments. And in general, IT is considered one of what's called an internal service department, meaning we help all the other departments do their jobs to the efficient level as possible by providing technology as tools for staff in all the various departments, such as building, finance, legal, as was talked about earlier, risk management, human resources, et cetera, on down the line. So all the departments that you'll hear from during the course of your university sessions are all part of who we help serve and are glad to do it. So with that, I'd like to start off with some little fun stuff here and kind of give you a timeline of what people think IT is versus what it used to be, what it is now, and what it will be into the future. So a lot of times, especially from the internal perspective, again, noting we're an internal service department, a lot of our city staff just says, hey, my printer's fixed, can you fix it? And they just think we can, boom, presto, fixed, in an instant. And unfortunately, at times we can, but at times we can. And so we work with everybody because part of what's involved with technology is people, right? And every person in every department, it's comprised of people. And everybody's always focused on the technology part, but it really does, at the end of the day, come down to people. But in addition, I like to note, just as a plug for my mom, she thinks what I do is just tinker around all day and take my little ohm meter and measure the voltage going through a system or something like that, just as a simple, to the next part, geek, which was the old paradigm, which is more of an 80s thought, late, early 90s, but now that's faded away. And so, of course, what my boss thinks I do is just sit at my desk and play games all day, and I don't do anything at all. And of course, what I think I do, save the day, right? Not just from an IT operational perspective, but in my role as a cybersecurity perspective. And of course, what I actually do, and what my entire team of peers do in the IT department, is we put out fires all day. So, no, we try to be. And it's a kind of a testament to how reactive the IT department has to be, but at the same time, with a lot of the policies, procedures, standards, and strategic plans we've put into place, we try to also be proactive. So while on a day in, day out basis, we are reacting to everybody's requests that come into the help desk, which I'll talk about in a little bit, as one of our key components of the IT department, where I always say it's where the rubber meets the road from a help desk perspective, because all the staff, when they call for support, that's their first line of contact with the IT department is the help desk. So we do our best to serve. So with that, the IT department, as it's known today, was founded in 1995 and 1986. And I have question marks there because I like to pose a question. Can anybody guess by chance what you think the IT department, as it's known today, may have been called in 1985, 1986 was created? And I'll give you one little hint. If anybody's seen the movie called Hidden Figures, about the ladies who did all the calculus trajectories for the man on the moonshot. So there's a hint there for you that close. A little closer. Anybody else? Nope. Close. Closer. Computer. It was just computer, which at the time they called them computers because what they were doing was computing. It was just people manually computing logic functions or algorithms. So when the IT department, as it's known today, was created in this city, it was just called computer. So with that, the computer department at that time only consisted of 2 people and it had a budget of $102,000. Fast forward a few years, when I came on board in 2016, 2017, the department at that time was known as the Management Information Systems Department. And you'll find that a lot of cities and counties, and even at the state and potentially at the federal level with various departments at the federal level, when computers started out, and I'll kind of touch on that for a minute, our industry is very young compared to a lot of other disciplines. Like the world of finance has been around for hundreds and hundreds of years. They're mature. They have a lot of standards and policies and procedures that they have to follow. With IT, we've been around only since maybe the 50s or the 60s, so we're very young in our discipline. And in that, over time, the name has changed of what we do, so that kind of alludes to why I'm giving you a little timeline here of what the lady said in the back earlier, which she was on to something where some departments, from computer department, they became data processing, then they went into management information systems, and then now today they're called information technology departments because it's just a more comprehensive word to kind of encapsulate what we do. So with that today, fast forwarding to today, in 2016, 2017, it was known as the MIS department when I came on board. And a little bit later I think it was around 2017, they changed the name to IT. And since that time, going forward, we now have a current proposed total of 39 full-time equivalent positions in the department across 5 different divisions. So you could see our growth from originally 2 people to 39 people and now being siloed into 5 different divisions, which I'll show here. So this is kind of our organization chart for the department. In essence, we have a development department, which is very unique for a lot of cities. Most cities don't have an in-house coding team, in essence, develop software in-house. And that gives us a great advantage because you might have someone from the building department or the engineering department, and they need a particular task done. Remember I mentioned earlier that IT is designed to help everyone do their jobs better with tools we provide. So in that, the software we design, they'll say, well, I want software to do such and such and such. And that's what our development team does in-house, is if they can't find a commercial off-the-shelf solution, or what we call COTS, such as from Microsoft or the number of vendors that exist out there, we actually take the time to develop it in-house specifically to what is requested from the department. So we have an entire intake system and a testing process, and that department develops things like our Mantis program, which is our help desk program. They develop one PSL, which you all probably have heard about in some of your other discussions, right? As far as residents being able to report potholes or different issues throughout the city and take a picture and send a message along with it to describe what a problem is that they're reporting to the city. So some of our applications are public-facing like that, and some of them are internal-facing for the departments to use as they need. We also have a newer division, which is our cloud services division, because over time, again, as the maturity of how IT or information technology is managed, it is migrating from what we call old school on-premise data centers to the cloud. So you always have this pendulum or fluctuation in information technology over the years where it kind of centralizes and decentralizes. So we're kind of in this swing now where we're back to decentralizing where a lot of the services are going to the internet or in essence cloud-based. So in order to handle that, the Amazons of the world, the Microsofts of the world that have a lot of the services we procure in the cloud, we now have to have professionals that have specific knowledge and training in that area to help manage that technology, because how it's employed is a lot different than the days of when you managed the data and the data center in-house. So that's why that particular division now exists. We also have our General Support Services division, which I noted earlier is where I like to say the rubber meets the road, where our help desk division or people are located as well as our infrastructure team, which deals with all of our fiber optics that was mentioned earlier from Western Management. We have roughly 76 square miles of network that we cover. That's a double ring fiber optic network. We have all types of wireless networks all over the place in public parks, public facilities, the civic center, any public park you go to. So all this stuff all has to be tied to a network to function and connect to the internet. So the infrastructure division, the networking team that helps support all that data communications and voice communications is a big part of that in our support services division. Over on the right, you have our operations division, which ties into all of our IT purchasing. And what I like to say to our IT procurement team is we couldn't do anything without you. And that's really true, because if we weren't able to purchase anything, then we're kind of dead in the water, especially because we outsource as well to vendors as well. We can't do everything in-house, so you have to outsource services, products, services, that sort of thing, like I mentioned earlier about Microsoft and Amazon and the cloud. And then you come to our division, my division, which is the security division. And Mr. Jones hired me back in 2016. Bill Jones is the CIO. He's been with the city probably over 30 years now. And so he worked his way up he was through the networking side of the house, and then became the chief information officer about, I think, in 6-7 years ago now, and has been leading a team that's been growing and growing. And as you can see there on the right, I apologize, it's a little hard to see, but the color codes kind of give our future asks, because of each future cycle, we have so much need to staff to meet all the needs of the city. Every year, we're always asking for additional staff to achieve that goal. So with that, I won't read everything here, but we have a mission statement that we follow, which basically is dedicated to great customer service. Again, primarily focused towards internal departments. But we do, as I noted earlier, have outreach and do have exposure via the public internet to a lot of the systems, such as the city's website, things like that, that are publicly facing that you all may even interact with, that we help support. We maintain over 3,300 plus mobile, desktop, and server devices. So basically, if you take the number of staff we have, which is approximately between 1,300 and 1,400 staff, you figure about 3 devices a person, and that gives you a rough idea. You know, it varies because some people are out in the field and maybe they have a shared device, like a mobile device, like an iPad or something, or a mobile phone. Other people might only have, a phone, or some people have a phone, an iPad, and a desktop. So it varies. Of course, we support all, as noted earlier, everything from utility, billing permits, financial systems for the finance department, including Munis via Tyler Technologies, even though that software is outsourced to manage our budget, payroll, retirement, benefits, all these types of things, accruals for vacation and sick. You could just go on down the line. Building payments, people come in and make payments for their occupational license. You name it, we're helping provide support to all those software systems, or like I noted, we develop some of those in-house and support. So as noted, we have over 1,000 users. Probably, like I said, we're closer to we license everything as an example for roughly 1,500 users, so we try to build spare capacity as we grow over time, because every year we're always adding a staff citywide, so we try to account for that in our planning and our strategic plan. But basically, we have 17 city departments across 35 physical locations, as I noted earlier, covering roughly 76 square miles of network throughout the city. And as noted, it's roughly averaging 3 devices a person. And I just like to give some numbers, as Jeff noted earlier. If you like numbers, I like to provide a little bit as well from an IT perspective of roughly how many Wi-Fi access points, as an example, we support throughout the various parks that we maintain for public usage. We maintain a lot of security cameras as well, DVRs that manage those security cameras and the footage that's recorded. A lot of hotspots, telephone systems, and as noted earlier, servers, laptops, desktops, all that good fun stuff.
Are the Wi-Fi access points in like particular areas in the park or the whole park?
There aren't strategic areas to provide as much coverage as possible. So we try to develop like what's called mesh networks where the signal is kind of broadcast in a way that's roughly trying to cover as much of it as we can. We try to budget in every year and continue to expand our coverage in parks as we grow. Some are new parks that come online, other parks existed, and we're adding coverage as we go, as the budget allows. So that's always a challenge in trying to balance limited resources with the public good and what we could provide. I'm not sure if on our website we have some GIS map layers available that may be out there. I'd have to get with our GIS team to ask that if it's something available. Yeah, we don't have an app that would provide that type of data. Interesting question, though. Might be something to suggest. Yeah. Yep, always happy to serve. So, of course, we maintain the data center, which is here in this building, as noted. But as we migrate to the cloud, that's now a lot of the data we house and manage, which to me is the most valuable asset the city owns, is its data. After its people, I would say. But as far as actual intangible, an intangible asset would be the data we manage, whether it's on premise or in the cloud. And as noted, we have our own help desk system that we develop in-house called Mantis. We manage all citywide internet access, the city's website, email, telephone system, voicemail, noted earlier about the 1PSL, and various other functions. So this kind of gives a tab for some of the different functions and responsibilities, everything from purchasing, as I noted earlier, to we get involved in emergency operations. So anytime, as an example, if the emergency operations center is activated during a hurricane, IT is in a support role we activate that in Building B. And that allows all the staff for the city, as well as outside entities like the fire department, sheriff's office, county representation, and will all go into the EOC, and then we plug into the county EOC. So IT has a strong technological presence during that time to help ensure everybody can communicate and do their jobs as effective as possible during these emergent situations. Of course, as noted earlier, with my division, we provide cybersecurity. One of the neat features that we do is what we call a security education training and awareness program. And we work to continually educate and train all of our employees on a continuous basis, especially as employees come and go from the organization. You can imagine at times when there's turnover, you don't know an employee's prior history and knowledge wherever they came from, and we want to make sure that they're educated and brought up to speed on our standards and how we do things in-house. So that's a really critical program to help reduce our risk, back to what Jeff was talking about earlier, that we collaborate with all departments. And we really can't do it alone, and that's why I'm kind of stressing that element, as we try to turn everybody into de facto cybersecurity people, because that's the only way the city, as an organization, can reduce its risk, its operational risk on a day-in, day-out basis to an acceptable level that both meets and aligns to the city's mission, and in turn to be able to serve the public, meaning things like ensuring the internet is up all the time and is reliable, so that all the systems can function and operate, so everybody in their different departments can do their jobs. If the network's down, we go back to the Stone Age. So that's really critical. But in that process, back to the people concept is a key element. And that's why we invest heavily in training. And one of the programs we use to do that is called Know Before. I don't know if anybody's heard of that. You have?
Every quarter.
Yeah, there you go. So with Know Before, we have a lot of fun with that. Every quarter, she's got it. Yeah, we do quarterly phishing campaigns. So we test our staff back to training. We'll send out realistic phishing messages via email. Yeah, we've tried vishing, which is social engineering, I should back up for a minute. This is the concept of social engineering, and you have three different types, which is phishing, which is social engineering via email. Vishing is social engineering via telephone calls, like crank calls or leaving voicemails trying to get you to call back and respond. And then smishing is social engineering via text messaging. So those are all ways that the bad perpetrators in the world try to take advantage of all the city employees by getting them to click on that link, open that attachment, because maybe they're expecting an invoice, and they try to masquerade as a known vendor that the city uses and try to insert like a man-in-the-middle attack as if they are a vendor, that someone just happens to be at the right place, right time, expecting this particular invoice in PDF form, and as soon as they open it, it's game over. Now, of course, we have other layers of security in place, but I always like to note that as far as our security education training and awareness program about the people aspect, that's the most important element, because they are our last line, all the staff are our last line of defense. Even though the IT department spends a lot, over $8 million in all the technology we deploy, at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, when all the other layers of security fail that we have in place, it's the person at the end of that tool that we give them to help detect, hey, is this a good message or not? Or is this, some type of false information or not? And so we rely on them very heavily, and the only way we can gain a good, strong foothold against the bad people in the world that attack the city all the time, and all organizations for that matter, is to educate our people. So that's why I like to really stress that. But we do a lot of other things in the IT department, including designing and maintaining city bases, which is part of our development team, our programming staff that does that for us, because a lot of our databases house some of the most important data and sensitive data we manage, and that ties into a lot of the applications that they develop in-house, or that's used by third-party consumer off-the-shelf solutions. Within the IT department, we also, as I alluded to a little earlier, maintain physical and logical security measures. So we have access control systems. We maintain physical keys for key override access control systems. So you present your badge, like we have badges with your photo ID or HID badges, so that they have access rights to be allowed to go in certain places physically. So as an example, not everybody can just come into the IT department and walk into the data center and say, oh, I'm going to pull some cables and unplug this power cord. No, it's just, no, I can't do that. So we maintain all the access controls to help prevent that, because there's a lot of sensitive areas in all these buildings that if someone from the public who has bad intentions decides to do something, we want to be able to physically prevent them from doing that as much as possible. So we have these things in place as deterrents, and we help maintain that, including, as I noted earlier, cameras as well. To help with that deterrent. We do a lot of things in-house in regards to incident response, disaster recovery, business continuity. We even have a digital forensic capacity in-house, which is kind of unique as well to our IT department. In the event of a cyber incident, where we have capacities to help us deal with that, whether it's a people-related issue or a technological issue that we're exposed to. So I'm going to pass on that. So then it gets down to my part of the world, my favorite part, which is cybersecurity. And coming on board in alignment with the overall IT mission statement, I created a cybersecurity mission statement that helps to support maintaining, in essence, all the physical and logical systems throughout the city to ensure the protection, again, of the city's information access systems and networks that we're talking about with the IT department, and throughout the city for all departments. So there's a lot of functions within a cybersecurity division or operational unit. So you have someone like myself who leads the way and in fact is the leader in the event of any computer security incident response events. But it's really a lot in collaboration with everybody else, because nobody can do it alone, and that's what I was mentioning earlier about people. It's really all 1,400 staff working together throughout the city that makes the security program possible. But you do need people that have expertise and that are able to lead the way. So in fact, this evening I have one of our newest members of our division, Mark Goldner, who's sitting with us this evening. He's one of our new IT security analysts that we onboarded this year. So we're currently a complement of 4, and in this coming fiscal year, we're getting ready to add an additional physical security technician that will handle all the physical security systems, so we'll be a complement of 5. That's strictly full-time, just focused on security, which is also fairly unique to a city even of our size, because most cities, they'll have an IT department, but a lot of the staff have dual hats, meaning they have to do all the IT operational administrative functions, but they also have dual security role functions. And when you're split between the two, especially for the mission of a city, which its primary mission is to serve the public, the operational side always wins over the security side. So by us having our own dedicated security people, I correlate directly with the CIO. Even though I report to him, we do at times converge as far as on certain incidents or events and go back and forth as to what has precedence depending on the situation and the incident at hand. And it helps provide a good balance that can balance the operations, which is always first, but I try to keep security a very close second. It's kind of like walking a tightrope, and you're walking along and trying to balance the two, because at times they do conflict. But in the end, operations win because, again, we're here to serve the city. We're not like the Pentagon, some high-level, top-secret intelligence agency. We're just a city serving the public. But we try to raise security to a reasonable level that reduces risk that the organization is willing to accept. And that's the goal, back to what Jeff was noting earlier about risk management. That's our overall goal, is we're trying to help not only the IT department, but the overall city manage risk from a technological perspective. So dealing with cybersecurity and information assurance, there's three key elements I like to share with everybody with a 50,000-foot view. And I mentioned earlier about people. That deals with our security education training and awareness program, and we apply processes, which deals with workflow, which deals with policies and procedures and why everyone does what they, in their job roles in each department, what they do, why they do what they do. And that deals with workflow. And a lot of times that has a strong tie-in to the technology component, because obviously everybody has technology at their disposal to do what they do every day. So in that, we try to turn all the people, like I noted earlier, into de facto security people, so that they're not only doing their job, but they're doing their job more securely. And that's the key. That's the win-win. And if we can achieve that, if any organization can achieve that, they can mitigate a lot of the risk that they face operationally from a technological perspective. Because you hear every day about a lot of organizations getting breached for one reason or another. Employee does this, somebody does that, software vulnerabilities discovered, compromised. All your data is leaked. You guys probably in your personal mailboxes periodically get a notification from an organization saying, sign up for 2 years of free credit monitoring because your data with Blue Cross Blue Shield, as an example, has been compromised. And unfortunately, this happens to organizations every day, including cities that you hear about throughout the state of Florida. And like I noted earlier, a lot of people focus on the technology part, which is why I have it listed there as one of the three components. But really, at the end, for everyone's awareness, it's all about people. That's really what makes the difference. Because organizations have limited resources, so you only have so much money to spend on technology. You can reinvent processes, you can make them more efficient, more resilient, but at the end of the day, it comes down to people. And where we win on that is our education program with them. So I know we're probably a bit short on time, so they have a copy of this that they can read through, so I won't go through that. See if I can go back one. So touching a little bit on another key concept of cybersecurity is what's called physical and logical security. So logical security deals with everything that's data-oriented, or in essence, the zeros and ones, like as that we're sitting here. If you can imagine just a bunch of zeros and ones floating through the air wirelessly, that's what data is in a binary sense. Like we live what's called in a base 10 world, which is when you go to the clerk and you give them a $10 bill and you get $9.99 back, that's base 10. But computers or technologies on a base 2, what's called base 2, zeros and ones. A matrix, that's it. So in the matrix, there are physical elements and logical elements. And so a lot of the physical elements deal with everything that we're talking about today, like vehicles, which Jeff noted earlier, like police vehicles are considered, as an example for a police officer, a secure location, or in essence, his secure office. So when he has his laptop and he's sitting in his patrol car, for the CJIS standard that we have to follow, as an example, that's considered a secure location for that person to conduct his business with the sensitive information, criminal justice information that police officer is managing on a day in, day out basis. So of course we have vehicles that happens in, buildings that happens in all day long. Of course it gets down to people, which is also another physical element, because people can be socially engineered. So that's why I include them in this list of physical, tangible elements that we have to be concerned about from a cybersecurity posture. The other elements I talked about earlier, which is desktops, laptops, servers, and all the data storage devices we use. This logical side deals with everything that you can't, in essence, feel. You can't touch, and that's why it's called logical or intangible. So it's everything from the wide area network I mentioned earlier, that we manage 76 square miles of fiber optic network. Even though there's a tangible element to it, you don't see it because it's buried in the ground, and then that ties into all the wireless connectivity. So technically it becomes logical. So there's like a hybrid approach to that particular concept there, but to give you some sense of what we would consider logical. And then it's everything from emails, text messages, because we have to comply with Chapter 119 from the state of Florida, with many other regulations and state laws, as an example, that I can touch on briefly, that have been passed this year from the state of Florida, that mandates cybersecurity training for all city staff at every level of government in the state of Florida within the first 30 days. I'm sorry? Do we have to do? Yeah, that's the CETA training, yep. So we had our CETA program in place since 2016, but the state now is realizing, because of the number of cybersecurity threats that a lot of localities have experienced in the past 5 years, that, hey, this is an important element. We need to ensure all local governments have a security education training and awareness program. So they passed a state law, and as of July 1st, that's the law. And I think it's a good thing. I think it'll help everyone, kind of like that old concept of a rising tide lifts all boats. So regardless of the city and size, they'll all have to comply. And that's for all public servants that serve the public. I think it's a good thing. But yeah, the state's come some way in the past year or two in passing certain laws that we have to comply with. But one of the long-standing ones is the Chapter 119 laws that deal with emails and archiving, text messages and archiving. Or you probably heard from law enforcement, the body cams and stuff, and we have to store all that video. So all those things are public record, and if a public records request comes in, we have to ensure archiving all that data because it's public data. And and for FOIA requests, So we have to, at a state level, deal with public records requests and ensure that that information is pristine, unaltered, and in essence what we call the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of that data, or the CIA of that data. So that ties into a lot of the rules and regulations we have to follow to maintain and ensure that's available anytime a public records request. But it's intangible, it's data, and that's an intangible asset. Wi-Fi, wireless networks, data center, all that sort of thing. So I like to give a little thing here. Thousands of years ago, philosophers noted that there was no nobler work than public service, and today that still holds true. And we at the City of Port St. Lucie, within the IT department, the 39 employees that we represent, help work with 17 departments and cover over 1,300 plus municipal employees to serve you, the public. So I appreciate you all being here this evening, and I like to give a couple little, like I said, sidebars on some of the experiences that help desk. This one is a good help desk joke here if you want to take a look at that, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you have. But awesome. I'll give you some of the pain points that the help desk does. Thank you.
I love the comic book strip little pictures there. Those are funny. Any questions for Stanley before we round out tonight's session?
Go ahead.
The gentleman does here.
Lately, we hear a lot about AI.
Yep.
Is there any concern that you have with AI interfering with your IT department?
Yeah, all organizations have that concern. At one point, we were considering banning it to a certain extent, but I will say back to the state of Florida for a moment, kind of correlated to your question. We're waiting with a new law that just came in effect July 1st of this year. We're waiting for a list of banned applications that all state, county, and city governments must block. So if the state decides that ChatGPT, to your question, is on the ban list, we will have to start banning it based on state law. So that's to be determined, but there is significant risk. Just for state, county, and city employees, correct, right. That we will ban that, whatever their list, when it comes out. It's supposed to be towards the end of this month, as a matter of fact. I think my memory serves September 28th, thereabouts, that list will come out. So it's pretty soon. And of course, it'll take time to implement. It's not an instantaneous, and we get a delayed time, to be able to employ and enforce the rules that will eventually be audited against. But with AI, to your question, I think the main issue with AI is the data that's put into it. Back to data being the most valuable asset, because at times you could have human error. People at times divulge Social Security numbers by accident, as an example, in a spreadsheet when they shouldn't, or upload something in a form that they don't realize certain elements of data exist on that form. Or once that data goes into the AI ecosphere, it's public. You can't take it back. And that's the thing. Even if you post things publicly on a website and the AI scrapes everything off of these public forums and social media and public-facing websites, and anything that you, in essence, like if you think of it physically, you walk outside your home, you have no privacy, right? Basically, it's modern society. As soon as you walk outside your front door, privacy's out the window. You have to think of it in the same terms with AI, that with anything you put on the internet, because of what AI does and how it's designed to collect information, because that's the power of it, is the sheer footprint of data it has access to process. That is the danger, is the data that's being fed into it, and whether it's classified as sensitive or not, that all of us as organizations are responsible to properly manage, and at times can either accidentally divulge to an AI system that then it uses for good or for ill. I would say also AI, from a sense of being used as a positive tool for doing research for finding cures for cancer, is an awesome tool, but it unfortunately can be, with all technological tools, used as a double-edged sword for negative against us. So such as social engineering techniques, where you see on the news where I don't know, Tom Cruise is being made to look like he's saying something that he's not, and it's really close to approximating a real video that people look at online and say, oh, I saw that online, I believe that. But meanwhile, it's fake. And that's where a lot of the power of AI comes into play, as far as adjusting our social media content or anything we see on the internet, from how do we know, or here, how do we know it's factual? How do we know it's truthful? AI is making it very hard to determine that, even from a human factor standpoint. They're not quite there yet, but they're getting really close. And I would say that's the problem with technology, even at the federal level. From the federal government all the way down through states and local governments, we all struggle with the need to be expeditious in deploying technology, but not doing it in a way that we put guardrails in place, meaning we're slow in putting laws in place before we deploy the technology to better control it. We don't put policies and procedures in place and provide training to say, before we deploy this technology, we're going to tell you how to use it, tell you the good and bad, the risks involved, and then use it. We just say, oh, look at this great new tool, ChatGPT, public, and then everybody, you get the initial adopters, what we call, like when you look at a bell curve, you have the early adopters, which is the very, like 8 to 10% of the population that jump on it right away, that are gung-ho, want to try out technology. They're probably doing a lot of good things with it. Then you kind of get the middle range adopters as you go up the curve. And that's where, as you get more and more people involved in these type of projects, unfortunately, people that are good are also bad, and they do a lot of bad things with the tool. And that's, I think, to a little bit of your question, our concern of why we struggle with deciding whether to ban it or not. And at this point, we haven't, because we use it as a tool to help us, let's say, develop policies in-house, as an example. So when you're looking for certain legal language or policy language to help develop a policy, it can help rapidly create that type of a document that would take a human like me 5 times as long to generate. Even though I'm an expert in my particular field, you can just kind of query and put a bit of information into it, and it will give you a lot of results in return that you can use as a template to create things very quickly out of. So that's the power and benefit of it, if you use it and wield it for the right purpose. But I think at this time, it's a very early technology that I know at the federal level, they're meeting, I think yesterday they had Bill Gates and some of the other people from the titans of the world that were in front of Congress discussing that issue, as an example, because we deployed it, again, without guardrails in place, which is back to what I was saying in the very beginning of my conversation, that our industry is very young. We've only been around since the 1950s or 60s. It still shows it in the maturity in that example, that we do not thoroughly think through and strategically plan when we deploy the technology as to what's the impact to society, good or bad. And until we get to that point of maturity, I think we'll have some struggles ahead, from a security standpoint especially. That makes our job a lot harder.
Yeah, I think that was a great question. I'm glad that somebody did bring it up, because it does seem like the concept of AI is here already, and it's something that municipalities will have to tackle at some point, or at least address in the near future, whether it's on the local, state, or federal level.
And to be honest, AI is integrated in everything we use. You just don't realize it. It's already behind the scenes in a lot of the tools and software and what's being used. Everything from what Jeff was saying earlier about insurance agencies, they're calculating probabilities of disaster. In order to process the amount of data, you need AI. You need that horsepower to process it. You know, the old days you had supercomputers, but nowadays it's AI, and it's behind a lot of what's being processed. And unfortunately, the other elements of it are that the templates that it's using can be skewed. You know, like even when I was talking earlier about our programming division, you can program biases into things. And that's the other danger with AI is who's wielding it, who's managing it, what's the bias being built into its algorithms to calculate and process information. Because it's the old concept of garbage in, garbage out. You only get as good as what you put into it as what you get out of it. So AI is no different.
Okay, so we are out of time, unfortunately. Well, thank you so much, Stanley. I really appreciate the information.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. So before we let you guys all go, I just want to point out that next week we are going to switch it up just a little bit. We are actually going to be meeting over at the Mid-Florida Event Center, which is just off of US 1. There are a lot of fantastic events that happen over there at the Mid-Florida Event Center. So you guys will actually get to hear about some of the upcoming ones happening later this year and in early 2024. So I will be sending out an email reminder later this week just to remind you guys that we are not going to be meeting here. We're going to be meeting over at the Event Center next week. And as far as guest speakers, you will hear from our Mid-Florida Event Center manager. You'll also get to hear from our Community Redevelopment Agency as well. And then our Emergency Management also, too, their department, who assists the city with, preparing for natural disasters, which is the perfect time since, we are in the heart of hurricane season. So you will get some tips from that department, too, to prepare for hurricane season as well. So with that said, thank you all for being here tonight, and I hope you have a great rest of your night and take the leftover sandwiches as well.